Welcome to Right on the Money. I'm Rebecca Powers, your host today. So happy to be with you, and I'm here along with Tom Mosley. He's the CEO and founder of Mosley Wealth Management. Great to see you today, Tom.
Good to see you too, Rebecca. Glad to be here with you.
We always call you the professor, you know, in Gilligan's Island. He knows something about everything, and specifically about finances and how you can really retire right. I think that's everyone's dream. Is that what motivates you?
Absolutely. I mean, you only get one chance to do it. And if you don't do it right, there's no do-over. You can't go back. And a lot of people make a lot of mistakes because they're out there winging it on their own for the first time without a lot of good advice.
Yeah. So one thing you taught me was it's like a puzzle, right? When you sit down with your children and you go to put together a puzzle, there's all of these different pieces. You worked for many, many decades, and I know you've helped thousands of people reach their retirement dreams. Social Security is what you say is kind of the foundation to start with. Why is it a foundation, and how do we know what we even have?
Well, the puzzle idea is great because, like, I've got 5 kids and 8 grandkids, and we'll sit down to do puzzles. Obviously, my 5-year-old can't do the puzzles that the 25-year-old can do, but we'll sit down to do puzzles, and the first thing you do when you're going to put together a puzzle is you put together the outside. I know of no one who starts and say, let's start in the middle and work out. So as you're putting together the outside, that's the rim that everything operates off of, and then most of the time, then you work to the middle. That's what Social Security is, because unless you've got a big government pension from a school or a civic organization or a civic company, then you are going to have Social Security. So you start with the outside. It's generally about 40% of what the average American is going to have in retirement. Now, there's some states where it's 80% or 90%. And there's some states where it's less than that. But in most cases, I've seen all kinds of reviews, and it's somewhere between 36 and 44% of the income. So you start with that. That's why it's so important. And you got to go back to when Social Security started. When Social Security started, I get a kick out of this. You've always been able to get Social Security for the first time at 62. Well, in 1935, when they first started Social Security, the average American male lived to 61 years and 8 months, and then they passed away.
Wow.
So if you got to Social Security when it first started, you were living on borrowed time.
Right.
Now, if you reach the age of 65 and there's not some kind of compelling health problem, there's a great chance you're going to live into your mid or your upper 80s. So there's a lot of stress, as everybody knows, on Social Security. When they started Social Security, it's always been a gigantic Ponzi scheme.
I was wondering, because I don't think, how did it start? What was its purpose, and what is the purpose now?
Well, it started as a supplement to retirement because a lot of people had pensions back then. Even I'll talk about my granddad sometimes, you know, because my granddad had a railroad pension, but he also had Social Security, and he loved that Social Security that Mr. Roosevelt gave to him. And but there were 160 people paying into the Social Security system for every one that was drawing. Now it's down to 2 people who are paying in to every one person who's drawing Social Security. So I tell my people, if you've got 2 grandchildren who are paying into Social Security, thank them for your monthly check because they're the ones paying it.
Yeah.
I had a guy one time, I teach a lot of college classes, and I was teaching, I think at Cypress College, and a guy raised his hand in the class and he said, they have all the money they've ever collected from Social Security in a bank in Washington. And the whole class laughed, and I was trying not to laugh at the guy. And I said, how do you get that information? He was adamant. And I said, how do you get that information? He said, well, I read a book. Well, who am I to argue against a book?
At least it wasn't the internet.
At least it wasn't the internet.
At least it was a book.
You could probably find it today on the internet. But they don't. It's always been a pay in and take out, and over a period of years, the Social Security system has added Medicare, they've added all kind of other things that are all working in the Social Security system. Disability is a big part of it, and that's the reason it's under pressure. Right. That's the reason it's under stress, because of all the things that they've added.
How do I personally find out? I started working when I was 15, kind of on and off through college, now at 53. How would I find out what I've put in? Does it show you by the year? I mean, I have no idea. I haven't even thought about retirement, honestly.
Well, there are a lot of things that you need to look at, and there is a website called 𝗧SA.gov. Now, I realize I'm sending you into the darker elements of society right now.
I think it'd be better to call your office and get some help, but go ahead.
It would absolutely be ready, but with your particular numbers, Rebecca,
Yeah.
you're going to have to get online and establish an account with Social Security. It's at 𝗧SA.gov.
Okay.
And when you get online, you're going to go through all kind of mechanisms to unlock that key. And they're going to ask you things where you're really going to think Big Brother's been watching over you for a long time. They asked me when I first got on, when did you ever own property on one of these 4 streets?
Wow.
And I remembered that my dad had put me on when I was 19 years old as an owner of a piece of property in a place in Texas I'd never lived, and I had to identify that street address. If you get the answer wrong, it'll kick you off the website for 24 hours before you can get back on. So you do need to get on. And Rebecca, if you want to find out, you do need to get on and look at a lot of things that are on there for your Social Security.
And if it's intimidating, just get one of your grandkids or your
Absolutely.
5-year-old neighbor to help you. Get my children to help me.
That's right.
So you set up your password, you set up your username, I'm sure just like anything else, answer a few security questions. Once they get that Social Security information, then how many branches do you have, by the way, across Southern California?
Oh, we've got 4 branches. We're in Glendale to Scripps Ranch. We're in Chino. Main offices in Anaheim. We're located all over Southern California.
And you were used to be with a big box, and I love to point that out because I personally, my husband and I used to be with a big box, and once you made the switch, you realize how much it is about trust and personal relationships. So someone can call one of their branches, right, and get some help, I guess is my point.
Call one of our branches and get help. When you're working with a big box, you're sadly to say, and I've been there, you're working with a product vendor. You're working with somebody who has a solution for your problem already made and already on the shelf. And you're giving them your information and they're filing their nails and then when you get done, they give you the same answer all the time. You need to work with someone who's going to listen to you, first of all, who's going to understand your situation and help you get on and find out your particular situation when it comes to Social Security.
That's so profound what you just said. They already have your answer up on a shelf and they haven't even really met you yet. And that's the point of cookie cutter. And they have to. That's just the business model of the big boxes. We're going to take a very short break, but if you'd like to know how to meet Tom Mosley and his team at Mosley Wealth, give them the phone number, Tom, and tell them what they can expect when they call.
We'd love to talk to you. If Social Security is an issue, if a lot of other things are issues, keep listening to our program. But if Social Security is an issue, you need a personal Social Security analysis. Everybody's got a Social Security number, but every single person has an individual situation regarding their own Social Security. And where you've come from, how many years you've worked, all of those things, that can be found by 𝗧SA.gov, but once you get that information, we can do a Social Security analysis. Now you have to understand, it fits into your retirement puzzle. It's not all of your retirement, we hope. If it is, you need to work as long as you can, build it as strongly as you can, and save as much money as you can, and then you'll be better off in retirement. But if you've got other assets particularly, when you go to turn on your Social Security, you need an analysis to know, do I use those other assets? Do I turn on Social Security now? What is your situation? And yours is different than your next door neighbor, than the person down the street, than your brother Bubba the plumber. Your situation is different than anyone else. So here's what I need you to do. You need to get off the couch, you need to pull your phone out, and you need to call 866-709-1462. That's 866-709-1462. Tell them that you'd like for somebody on our team to work with you on a Social Security analysis, but also as it fits larger into a retirement blueprint plan that includes all of your other assets so that you know when the best time is for you to turn on your Social Security. So the number again, 866-709-1462. Tell them you'd like a Social Security analysis and we'll set you up to have that done.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And we will be right back. We're going to talk more about how the world has changed, especially when it comes to finances. Stay with us.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have by running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no-obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Welcome back to Right on the Money. I'm Rebecca Powers here with Tom Mosley, a wealth of information from Mosley Wealth. We were talking before the break about how the world has changed. First of all, how can you plan to retire if you don't have a roadmap? How can you do anything in your life, right, without a plan or
Absolutely.
GPS like we all rely on now? But the world has changed. So in your almost 30 years now, what have you seen of how much it has changed for people, especially trying to retire?
Well, let's talk particularly about Social Security, because it was a pretty good plan. It was great. It's a great concept, and it paid out really well. I remember when I was a senior in high school, I used to drive to Dublin sometime to see some of my friends, and I would stop by, try to do it on a Saturday or so, and that's when banks first started opening on Saturday morning. And my grandfather would always want me the first Saturday of the month, because it always came in the mail on the Friday of the month, and he would always want, son, can you run me down to the bank? And
To cash his Social Security check?
Cash his Social Security check, because he loved it. And I have heard on a vinyl record way back when President Roosevelt, when he first pushed for Social Security to be enacted, he said, and I'll try to do this, he said, if you pass Social Security, it will never, ever be taxed. Well, I always ask my seminar people, I say, did he lie? And half of them will say, yes, he lied, and half of them will say, no, he didn't. He didn't lie, he just died.
Right, I was going to say.
That's exactly right.
I mean,
and so what happened was, and then I also get a kick out of the politicians, okay? I'm going to say something real political here. You ready?
Oh, no.
Yeah. They'll all stand on your TV screen and they'll say, we are the party that will protect your Social Security. Now let's talk about whittling, all right? In 1983, there was a gentleman by the name of Ronald Reagan that one side really, really liked, and there was a gentleman by the name of Tip O'Neill who was in charge of Congress, and they got together and they started taxing Social Security. They made Roosevelt a liar even after he was gone. And then 10 years later, that wasn't enough. They taxed it at maybe 50% of what you get. 10 years later, there was a man by the name of Bill Clinton. He was over on the other side. And there was a man by the name of Newt Gingrich who was on the other side. They got together again and they raised the taxes on Social Security to 85%. So they're beginning to whittle away. Now, recent history. In 2015, they passed a bipartisan budget act. And what they did, there were so many, Rebecca, there were so many options that you had. There was an option, I really don't want to go into all the details, but it's file and suspend. You could file the larger Social Security and then suspend it immediately and not draw anything. And the other spouse could come in and get half of that, free money. And then if they both, when they got to 70, they could turn on their benefit at the maximum benefit of 70. I have actually worked with people through the years to put anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 more in their pocket by true Social Security maximization.
So that's a great thing.
It was a great thing.
It's dead.
It's dead. It went away.
And they eliminated it.
They eliminated it. They trimmed it. So they're whittling it. Now they're telling us Now they're telling us if you do get onto SSA.gov and get your statement, there's a little paragraph in there that says by 2034, and that's a moving target. It goes up to 2033, down to back to 2035. They're probably going to only be able to fund 75% of the bonus, of the payment for Social Security. And I've told my seminar people and my college class people forever, I don't think they'll ever do away with it. But you know, I'm beginning to wonder.
Wow.
I'm beginning to wonder, because as they whittle, and then we come to a situation like we're at right now, and it sounds good for you to read in the paper in the past few weeks that you might get a 10% increase on Social Security. But remember what they did last year. Everybody was excited as they could be about a 5.9 increase in Social Security. Wait a minute. But they also enlarged what you were paying for Medicare by 18%. So the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Exactly. So that's the environment that we're in. Now think about how long will a system that's under pressure for maybe 2033, 2034, 2035, how long will it be able to sustain those kinds of increases? So yeah, it's good while you're getting it, but somebody's going to have to pull the plug on acting and having a backbone and standing up and saying, we've got to fix this system. I believe they will, but I don't know that they will anymore.
Yeah, and you also know about, of course, the baby boomer dilemma. There's a movie about it that you've told me about, the baby boomer dilemma. Let's talk about that. There are more people than ever on Social Security, and it's draining it.
Over 10,000 people a day I've seen in statistics are turning 65. So it ain't going to get a lot better soon. Now, down the road, there's a drop in population. But the baby boomers that were born from 46 to 64, you think about it, when they're turning 62, it's not until 2026. When they're turning their full retirement age at 67, it's not until 2031. That almost puts us at that 2033 no man's land where we really don't know what's going to happen. Not trying to strike fear. I believe no politician is going to stand in front of you and say, we're taking away your Social Security, because we'll vote them out of office.
Right.
And their major purpose is to get reelected.
But they'll do it after they're elected. Maybe
They'll do
just
it after
a little
they're
here, a
elected.
little there.
Exactly.
But there is hope. As you said, you don't want to strike fear. You're all about advising, informing, empowering. There is hope.
Right.
Just like with any situation in your life, you just have to map out a plan. There are ways to avoid risks. There are ways to mitigate your risks, and that is where you and your amazing team come in. Let's give that phone number, take a very quick break, Tom.
Our phone number, and we'd like for you to consider, if you're saying, well, I really need to know about my Social Security, okay? If you're already taking it and you've taken it for at least a year, we can't help you, because you can go back and do a do-over for the first year. But if you've taken it less than a year, or you've not taken it yet, you're trying to make a decision, and you're listening to Bob at the water fountain help you give you advice because of what he did, understand that your situation is different than anybody else's. And you need to call the number 866-709-1462. Come in, let one of our advisors sit down with you and do a personal Social Security analysis, not a maximization, because it's really not how can we get more money out of it now, it's how can we time it better for our situation, and that's what we do. Call us. It's part of an overall retirement blueprint that we do, where we look at your taxes, your income, the risk that you're taking, the risk that you have inside that you want to take or need to take. Sit down with us. We'll do a Social Security analysis, and you can feel a lot more confident and remove a lot of fear about, am I making the right decision about Social Security?
Absolutely. And again, it is no obligation. Leave your checkbook at home. The Mosley team just wants to meet you and see if you are a right fit to get your complimentary Social Security analysis. Stay with us. There's the number one more time, 866-709-1462. We'll be right back.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back to Right on the Money. I'm Rebecca Powers. So happy to be here today with Tom Mosley, CEO and founder of Mosley Wealth. You see, it was just a little slip because we were talking about Social Security.
Right.
And on the break, you were saying how you love Medicare.
Yeah.
And honestly, your firm does not even make much money on Medicare, but you love empowering and educating people, don't you?
Well, Medicare is a big decision for people because if they make the wrong decision and they travel a lot or they've had illnesses and they go for the most inexpensive Medicare, then they might not be covered when they're traveling. But that's another show.
That's another show. We'll write that one
right.
down. All right, it's hard to get good information and good advice. And you always say that everyone is completely different. Everyone truly is a snowflake. We're all completely different.
Right.
So how can you just be A, B, C, or D with the
Right.
big box? You're not a cookie cutter, you are a person. So how do you give advice? How many times do you meet with someone?
We meet with someone as often as it takes, as much as it takes. When somebody comes on to become a client, we call our process ease into retirement.
Nice.
The E is for envision. We just sit down and we get to know them. They're sizing us up to see if maybe they want to work with us, and we're sizing you up to see if we want to work with you, just to be honest, because our goal as a company is to work with people who are pleasant to get along with, to make sure that they have sufficient income the rest of their life, and to make sure they pay as little as they're legally required to pay in taxes. That's what we do. That's our mission statement as a company. Again, pleasant people making as much income as they need for the rest of their life and paying as little in taxes as they're legally required to pay. So that's what we do. But if you want to get Social Security information, now I've not had anything to drink. I'm saying this the right way. Don't go to the Social Security office to get advice and recommendations. You can get information from them. But when it comes to your particular situation, you can't go for advice. You need to talk to someone. Like, who's going to talk to you and say, have you worked 35 years? Because Social Security considers your top 35 earning years. So working, I had a lady at a college class at Mount Sac College came to me after class one day, and she was joking, I'm pretty sure, but she said, I'm mad at you, Tom. And I said, why? She said, well, I've only worked 33 years. And I realized if I work 2 more years, my benefit will be enhanced because Social Security considers your top 35 earning years. And she said, I'm mad because you've made me have to work 2 more years before I can retire. Well, that's a good thing that she found that out before she retired, left a job, and unless your name's on the wall, you really can't walk back in that door in most cases. And she did. And she worked 2 more years. She came back to my class. She retired. She's a great client now.
Isn't that funny?
Because she knows that we're there to give information. And you can't go to Social Security. You got to be careful who you listen to. A lot of teachers listen to their fellow teachers. Now, I've got 2 daughters who are teachers, so I'm not anti-teaching at all. But they'll listen to another teacher say, oh, you won't get any Social Security. We had a lady came in about 5 years ago. She had been a legal secretary for 18 years, and then she got a degree and started teaching for 24 years, and she retired at 64. And she came into my office and she said, I'm retiring, I need a plan, I need a retirement blueprint. And I said, okay, what kind of Social Security are you looking at? And she said, oh, I've talked to all of my friends at work, and they all tell me that I'll never get Social Security. Well, they've got CalSTRS. CalSTRS is one of the best public pension plans you can get. And they're right if they've worked 30, 31, 34 years like a lot of teachers have, like they had. But this lady'd only worked 24 years, so her STRS benefit was not that great. I told the lady, I always like to call them George and Myrtle. I told Myrtle, I said, Myrtle, go down to the social, well, my friends have told me, no, I'm not going to get anything. I said, go down and ask.
Yeah.
She went down, she got a starting benefit of $798 that she would never have gotten from Social Security. And guess what? They're not going to knock on your door and say, hey, we've got this money that's got your name on it. We'd like to give it to you. Will you take it from us? You're going to have to pursue it. And you're going to have to pursue it knowing what you need to know before you actually go to Social Security, because you may be talking to somebody at a desk, a clerk, who doesn't. I've had people call me from the clerk and say, they're telling me I can't do what you told me I could do. And I've actually, one time, Rebecca said, can you hand the phone to them? They handed the phone to the clerk, and I said, this is what they need to do. And the person said, oh, we can do that.
And look, now with the internet, like you said, what is it, SSA.gov?
SSA.gov. But far more important than that.
It's who you get your advice from.
It is. And let me go back to the first thing I talked about. Social Security is the rim of the puzzle of retirement, because probably 90% of the people that are in America have some form of Social Security. You've got to get that rim straight before you can start really deciding, do I turn on Social Security, or do I take money and let my Social Security grow, which a lot of people who've got Social Security maximization on the brain, they say, let's let Social Security grow and just use our other money. Well, what happens if you use all your other money down to zero? Then you're on a fixed income the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
I don't find that people are happy with that.
No, and you really want to empower them. Unbelievably, we are already out of time, but for your Social Security analysis, absolutely no obligation at all. Give Mosley Wealth a call, 866-709-1462. Just 30 seconds to go, Tom. Tell them bye, and thanks for joining us.
Hey, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being on this program. Now, every week, we are going to talk about another subject that impacts you on your retirement. And it's like when I used to be in the ministry. I would have people come to me on Monday morning, and they would have this major problem. And I would be thinking, you know, the message I delivered on Sunday was particularly for that problem, and you missed it. So don't miss a single one of these episodes. Call us for a Social Security analysis. Our number, 866-709-1462.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tom, and thank you for being with us. We'll see you next week.